Good morning, everyone. It's a privilege and an honor to be here. And this is my second episode where I'm being the guest and not the host. So this is 2 days ago, like when Dr. Sandeep called me up saying that, can you be the guest on this show? I was not sure what I would be talking about. So that was a time when I was like reading up articles on meditation. Then I thought, okay, why not do some episode about the scientific aspects of meditation. See, all of us have understood what meditation is. We have read about it in the books. We have known the art of meditating. We have been taught the art of meditation, and a lot of people have led us through various meditations. So in the course of our lives, so whether you go to Reiki, whether you go to pranic healing therapies, or whether you go into past life regression therapies, they all teach us meditation, some form of meditation. Meditations are of various types. So as you all know, there is something which is there are meditations which concentrate only on the breath. Some meditations they involve concentrating on a particular mantra. So there are different types of meditations, like there can be creative visualizations, imagery, and some meditations even are done with the eyes open. So there are various forms of meditations. So how do these meditations actually work on us? We all know the result of meditation. We know that, if a person is meditating, this is the benefit. We know that there will be benefits of meditation. We also know that it is a useful healing tool. But what we don't understand, or what we haven't given or paid attention to, is the fact that, how does this meditation actually work? How does it work on the brain? How does it work on the spinal cord? And why is it that only human beings are into meditation? Why is it that, do we have something special in our brain? Are our brains different from the other animals? See, we don't have the largest of the brain. Definitely we don't. So what is it in our brain which makes it special, which makes it different, which makes it so important for this kind of evolution that mankind has seen? So this spiritual evolution, be it technologically or technological advancement or spiritual advancement, the kind of advancement that we have seen is tremendous in the last few centuries. So though meditation was taught in the Gurukulas, meditation was an integral part of the ancient India, and a lot of research also was being done about it. But most of it, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, it is in Sanskrit language, and it remains inaccessible to most of us. So what has happened is, like, though there are many aspects of meditation which our rishis and our monks have researched and documented, none of it has reached the common man. So that is the greatest tragedy. And most of the meditational, when I was searching about this topic in various search engines, Google search engines, or the PubMed research search engines, it's like you'll find articles, a lot of articles which are written by foreign authors. So most of the research is done by those people in Canada, people in Germany. So they have come up with various researches, and very few Indian authors have published any scientific data about this. So I thought, let me share in very simple way how meditation has an effect on the brain or the spinal cord, for that matter. So be it meditation, yoga, or pranayama, so all these things have their effects on the nervous system mainly. So how does that actually happen? So for that, let's try to understand a bit about the science of meditation. So now, even to define meditation, like I did try to find, but it was the foreign authors who defined it this way. that it is wide range of activities that seek to expand and emphasize the mind's functioning, and which is achieved mostly by methods of sensory motor discipline. So this was given by Johnson in 1995. And we know that meditation produces effects which are beneficial for our autonomic system, the endocrine, neurological, cardiovascular, and psychological metabolism. So beneficial effects, which, as I said, these are the things which we already know, that there is a reduction in anxiety, there is increase in self-awareness, self-accomplishment, or self-worth, there is increased creativity and concentration, increase in the autonomic stability. Then there is a significant decrease in the cortisol and norepinephrine, which are the stress hormones, and the increase serotonin and dopamine, which is the one which causes relaxation and the feel-good effects of meditation. So what is the science behind all this? So I did a literature review, but since I had only 2 days time, I couldn't do much of it. So I apologize if there are lacunae in my presentation. So there are many articles, many publications that I went through, but these are the few publications which I thought were important and which added substantially to this presentation. So when it comes to a brief introduction, we all know that brain is the most important evolutionary organ for the humans. So we have brains which are bigger than expected for an ape. And we have a neocortex, which is 3 times bigger than predicted for our body size. And some areas of the neocortex and cerebellum are larger than expected. So this is how it is different from the other mammals. And we also have more white matter. So I'll explain that later. So this is from the article, The Human Brain in Numbers. This is also a very interesting article to read up if somebody is interested to read. So for non-medicos who are not so familiar, so this is how the brain looks. So brain is a single organ, but it has multiple areas, and it is thrown into many folds, like as you can see there. So and it has the various lobes, like the parietal lobe, the occipital. Then it is mainly divided into cerebrum, then the cerebellum, and the midbrain, and the hindbrain. So here you can see that the spinal cord, brain and the spinal cord, and you can see that the spinal cord gives rise to various nerves. So once all these, this is the relay center, like, from there it goes down, and there are various nerves, like you have the cervical nerves, you have thoracic nerves, you have lumbar nerves, and the sacral nerves. So from the brain through the spinal cord, these nerves emerge out, and they form various plexuses in the human body. So to tell briefly, the forebrain is the largest part of our brain, and it is the anterior part. So it consists of the cerebrum, the hypothalamus, and thalamus. Then the midbrain is the central part, and then you have the hindbrain. So here again, this is another picture, which is a section of the brain. So if you divide the brain vertically, so this is how it will appear. So this part here is the forebrain. You have this part is the midbrain. Then you have pons, you have medulla. Then it continues down as the spinal cord. And this part is a hindbrain. So the hindbrain is cerebellum, medulla, and pons. And the functions are, now the hindbrain is the one which most of us share, or I mean, it is a similar part as you compare to the brains of the other mammals. But the one which has allowed us to evolve better or evolve further is the forebrain. So this forebrain, or the cerebrum, comprises of 4 different lobes, as I told you. So you have the frontal lobe, which is important for speech, planning, reasoning, problem solving, and movements. So for the non-medicos these might seem a little complex, but just stay with me, because later on when I explain how each lobe is affected by the meditation, then you'll be able to relate to this much better. So you have the frontal lobe, you have the parietal lobe, which is mainly for the movements, the perception of the stimulus, external stimulus, then the orientation. Then the occipital lobe is for visual processing. So whatever we see through the eyes, it is processed in the occipital lobe. Then the temporal lobe is related to the perception, again, memory, auditory stimulus, and speech. So the cerebrum also has sensory areas and the motor areas, and the association areas which connect these two areas. So the sensory areas will receive the messages from the periphery, like from the senses, from the skin, from all those places. And you have the motor areas, which is responsible for the voluntary muscles, action of the muscles. So if for example, you touch something which is hot, immediately you withdraw. So it is like the sensation is the touch. And if you have to withdraw, you have to use the muscles. So this is how the coordination takes place. So it is a very complex organ. It has many areas, lot of fibers which help in the communication. And that is how it plays a very important role in our existence. So the article which I just quoted earlier also says that the brain consists of 100 billion neuronal cells. And 10 times more than this are the number of glial cells. So glial cells are like the supporting cells or the cells which help in the communication. So as I said, brain also has gray matter. It comprises of gray matter, which is the outer cortex, which forms the bulk of the brain. And you have the white matter, which is inside, the inside part of it, which comprises of axons. So axons are the ones which connect various gray matter areas of the brain. So here, this is a picture showing the brain cells. So again, to emphasize, the cerebrum is the one which is involved in thinking, intelligence, consciousness, and memory. And also it is responsible for interpreting touch, hearing, and vision. So why I'm repeatedly telling this is to understand the fact that how much importance is given to the forebrain. Like, you know, whether in terms of evolution or in terms of meditation and hence spiritual evolution, this part of it is the one which is important. Then thalamus is another important organ, which is as per se, it is important for movement and coordination. It also is the limbic system, which is present here, is important for storing memories and storing past experiences. Then hypothalamus. So here, this is a picture showing the thalamus and the hypothalamus. So hypothalamus is again another important area of the brain, which is very important because it controls the mood and emotions, the taste and smell, and essential hormones. Synthesis occurs here. And with the pituitary gland, it forms an important axis and becomes the main link between the nervous system and the endocrine system. Then medulla oblongata is another part which is important for controlling the autonomic functions like the heartbeat, breathing, digestion, and all this. So this occurs through the various nerves which arise from these areas. So let's not get into the detailed part of it. So I have just covered only few points so that it is not too much for the people who are not non-medicos. So pons is another area which is important for controlling sleep cycles, for regulating the respiration. Then it also transfers information between the cerebellum and the motor cortex. So it is also another important part which is involved in the sense of taste, hearing, and balance. So this is again a picture showing you the pons and the brainstem. So this is one thing which is familiar to all of us, at least whoever has been in the spiritual path, who has been into meditations, into Reiki. This is a picture which you're all very familiar. So here you can see how now these are the 7 major centers. So we all know that it is not just the 7 centers in the body. The body has many centers. There are major chakras, there are the minor chakras. And why are these chakras the major chakras? Isn't it? That is what is important to know. So these are the regions where you have the sympathetic nerves and the parasympathetic nerves, which form a plexus. For example, in Muladhara chakra, you have the coccygeal plexus. In Swadhisthana, you have the sacral plexus. In Manipura, you have the celiac plexus. In the Anahata chakra, you have the cardiac plexus. So this is the region where, you know, the sympathetic and parasympathetic. So if you see the picture, how they show is the Ida and the Pingala, which you know comes together at these points. So that is how they show. So this is mainly, that is the region, that is the reason why these 7 are called as the major chakras. So it is the major relay of information that takes place and is essential for all the if you see the emotional part of it. So the chakra activation is important to clear the blocks so that there is a smooth flow of Kundalini along the spine. So what is the neurochemical and neurophysiological aspects of meditation? So we have seen that now this is the anatomical part. We just covered the anatomical part. So what happens when a person sits in meditation? So with just the closure of the eyes, the alpha waves start getting produced. So it is predominant in the prefrontal and the temporal areas. So this is where, you know, it causes increase in the concentration, then a sense of social responsibility and decision making. So this is how these are all the ways in which meditation starts having its effect. So of course, there is a difference between people who meditate for short duration and those people who meditate for long duration of time. But still, even then, even if it is like 10 minutes of meditation, it has its effect. So it will show its effect, and at least these aspects, like, you know, for example, whenever I used to study for exams, I used to study for an hour, then meditate for 5 minutes, then again study. So I don't know, that used to help me a lot. Even those 5 minutes or 10 minutes of meditation used to show its effect. So I feel even 10 minutes of meditation is like a power nap. They say it can be very rejuvenating. So now in the meditators, if you see their EEG, EEG is something like, see, ECG is for the heart, EEG is for the brain. So you will try to see the activity of the brain. So you'll see that there is increased activation in the prefrontal cortex and the anterior cingulate gyrus. So this is the anterior portion of the brain, which I said is important for the evolution, human evolution as well as spiritual evolution. And corresponding to this, there is an increase in the glutamate release. So glutamate is a neurochemical, so which will stimulate the thalamus, and which in turn causes the release of gamma aminobutyric acid. So these are all neurochemicals which, when increased, cause a sense of well-being and increase the sensation of focus. Then meditation also promotes the reduction of stress and anxiety levels. How? Because they decrease the cortisol and noradrenaline, as I said, and increase the dopamine and serotonin. So this increased serotonergic activity is because of the stimulation of the lateral hypothalamus. And hypothalamic innervation in the pineal gland is the one which contributes to the synthesis and release of serotonin. So serotonin is a feel-good hormone. So you'll feel good when this is increased. So that is why dopamine and serotonin, when it is released, you will have that sense of, after about 30 minutes or 40 minutes of meditation, when you get up, you will definitely have that feel-good factor, even if you're in a state of depression, or if you're anxious about something, or whatever be it. After a period of 40 minutes of meditation, or even an hour of meditation, definitely you'll feel totally rejuvenated. So this occurs because of these neurochemicals. So it is like, if you break down every aspect of meditation, you'll understand how it is affecting the physical part of the body. So because like, you know, we are all familiar with how it affects our emotions, how, you know, meditation is useful. So this is that's why this talk is mainly on how it actually affects the brain. So how is the cognitive and behavioral aspects different in the meditators. So what actually makes them different? So one thing is that, people who meditate for long duration of time and who are consistent in their practice, you will see that their gray matter slowly increases in the quantity. So this is especially true among the elderly ones. So uh, diseases like Alzheimer's don't occur in such individuals. So and cognition and all these things are improved even if a person starts meditating at the age of say 50 or 55. So all these things will start showing improvement. And also the process of myelination. Myelination is like it's the fat part of it which coats the axons, like as I said, the cells. So this myelination is the one which is important for communication and for the well-being of the cells. And the main effect of meditation is neuroprotection. So it protects the nerve cells, and it releases the stress, decreases the release of stress hormones. And also the value and the volume of hippocampus increases over a period of time. So they did an experiment where they saw that this volume could be actually measured, and in the rodents they did this experiment that over a period of time, if the hippocampus was somehow made to shrink in size, those rodents, they became very stressed and anxious all the time. So the reverse also has to be true. So then also it causes increase in, so all these things like memory consolidation, learning, all this occurs mainly because of the activation of amygdala and the hippocampus and the limbic system. So these are the ones which make sure that there is reduction in depression, anxiety, eating disorders. All this can be prevented. So there are a lot of psychosomatic disorders, and that is a big chapter in itself. And so all these disorders can be taken care of. There can be obsessive compulsive disorders. There could be depression, anxiety. So all these things will definitely be helped when, we can combine meditation with the, if somebody is requiring medication. So meditation plus medication would definitely work wonders. Also, it is important for controlling chronic pain, respiratory musculoskeletal and skin problems, as per the current studies. So this article is meditation associated with altered brain structure is the one which I am talking about. So this article is a very interesting article because they started doing functional MRIs on people who meditate. They started doing PET scans, the PET scan, and EEG. So when they did this over a period of time, they found various results. So what do you mean by brain morphology? Like, what do you mean? If you ask me, then it refers to the structure, shape, and the composition of the brain. So how does it alter over a period of time in the meditators as compared with that of the non-meditators? So this is an article which was actually, it's an amalgamation of many other articles. So this is a meta-analysis. So meta-analysis means what? It's like they take the articles, they take the publications, like, they take articles, various articles related to this, compile them, and then make another study. So the short-term meditators versus long-term meditators were compared. So who are the short-term meditators? Short-term meditators were those people who could meditate for about 30 minutes to 1 hour in a day. And the long-term meditators could meditate for a very long period of time, like say 3 hours, 4 hours in a day. And it was for a long duration of time. So the short-term meditators were meditating possibly 5 hours in a week, and maybe for after 3 months or something like that, they studied these people and found various results. And they had many questions. So even before you conduct a study, you will have questions. So what are the things I want to study about, or what are the things you want to compare and find? So one thing is this, like, for example, now I said there is an increase in the volume of the hippocampus. So there are other brain structures also which show increase in the size or the volume or the number of cells. So does it mean there is enhancement of function? That is what they wanted to find out. Then they have also wanted to see if left hemisphere will respond in a different way as compared to the right hemisphere. And they wanted to also find out if meditation is like a skill. Is it something like a skill which anybody can learn, and thereby there would be anatomical changes? Meaning to say, like, if you take 100 people by who do the meditation, will it produce the same anatomical changes? So that is what they wanted to find. And also there are different methods to assess the results. So you can't do the same thing, same investigations, and like there are various ways to elicit. There are various tests. So there are now conduction studies. There is EEG. So there were different methods to assess the results, and each published paper had a different way of assessing those results. So this meta-analysis was trying to find out if all these results are comparable. Then there are various meditation techniques also, as I said. So are the results same? So if I do Vipassana meditation or I do some visualization, is it the same? Will it give me the same result? Then short-term versus long-term results. So these were the questions the authors had in mind when they wanted to compile this paper. So what were their findings? So they found that there were 16 correlations, means like whatever they wanted to find. They felt that there were 16 areas where it was, of which 6 were significant, of which 6 correlations were significant, meaning to say that the brain structure, the brain morphology is definitely affected with meditation. That is what they found. And they found that the gray matter is affected more than the white matter. And also this doesn't mean that the white matter didn't show any change. White matter also showed increase in the size, but gray matter showed it in much larger amount. So what they found here is this is like a very concise way, or in a very small way I'm showing the picture, as well as like how it helps. So they actually divided into gray matter regions and the white matter regions. They divided all the areas, so which showed enhancement or which showed changes with chronic meditation. So here you have, so the first thing they studied was the insular cortex. So insular cortex, it is linked to the awareness of the body's internal and visceral states. So it increases interoception. Means to say that now if you're doing a meditation like Vipassana, a body-centered meditation. So in Vipassana, you're concentrating on the breath, like Vipassana, the Anapanasati. So here you're just concentrating on the breath. Your entire focus is on your breath. Or in some meditations, your focus is on the heartbeat or the pulse, or you have various meditations like that, which are body-centered. So in these kind of meditations, they saw that the insular cortex is the one which showed change in the morphology. Means to say it showed changes in its structure. So apart from the insular cortex, you have the somatomotor cortex and the precuneus. So these are the other areas. So here the somatomotor cortex, this showed changes when they did contemplative exercises like the Tai Chi, which enhanced tactile acuity in the long-term practitioners. And over a period of time, these Chinese practitioners had higher tolerance to pain. So this area is mainly for processing tactile information. So any imaging, any dreaming of activities also causes activation of this. So precuneus is this region. So this region, when it's activated in meditation, causes higher order body image, then self-related processing. That is that sense of self, meaning to say that your self-worth, your body image, and all these things are those things are like controlled by this part of the brain. Then the rostrolateral prefrontal cortex. Now this is mainly affected by the Tibetan Buddhist meditations, like the brainwave vibration meditation. So I'm not familiar with these meditations, but these meditations, they have these articles are like, they have divided how the different types of meditation affect the different regions of the brain. So they found that any kind of insight and these kind of meditations make this region more active. And also they felt that most in any meditation session, this is the region which actually becomes active first. Also the region which becomes active with just focused attention. Some meditations are called as open meditations, where open eye meditations. So in those meditations also, this is the area which showed activation. And introspection. So that is another aspect which is related to this region. So people who are good at introspection, and they usually have a strong prefrontal cortex. Then processing the complex abstract information and various cognitive processes are also part of this region. Then another important region is the cingulate cortex and the mid-cingulate cortex. So now these are the areas which are like, this is the anterior cingulate cortex. So you see, this is the anterior part of the brain. So this part of the brain is the one which is important or shows a lot of changes. So for this anterior cingulate cortex is the one which is important for self-control, then problem solving, adaptive behavioral responses, and pain regulation, emotional regulation. So it is a very important part, and this is also affected by the meditation, and more so the increase in the gray matter is found more in this part of the cerebrum. So as you meditate more, the longer duration or more frequent meditations will make sure that there is increase in the blood supply to this part of the brain. These areas are also important for all this conflict monitoring, error detection, and pain. So here you see various people who have done studies. So over a period of time, you see so many neurobiologists and neuroscientists who have done. So this is a compilation. So this study compiled all those studies together and put it under one roof and said, these are the things which are affected by meditation. Then you have the temporal gyrus. So this part is the one which is the inferior temporal gyrus, which is the activation of which will make you attain that mystical states. Like you have that enhanced well-being is one thing, and you also have a sense of bliss in some areas, in some temples or some really powerful places. When you meditate, you really have that sense of bliss or sense of as if like you're not in this plane, you're in a different plane. So that kind of feeling comes with the activation of this part of the temporal gyrus. So hippocampus, as I said, is another important organ. So as I said, hippocampal atrophy, which they saw in rodents, caused a lot of stress, anxiety, and depression. So this is documented. So all these are scientific points, scientific facts, which are there, and for all of us to see. So that is how, like, with meditation, with the increase or with the well-being of the hippocampal region, the concentration ability and memory improves. And also it helps a person to see his past experiences in a new light, And there is a greater flexibility in the present behavior. So even if you put them under stressful situations, it's not that they don't get stressed. They will get stressed, but they will evolve newer ways of handling it, or newer ways of solving a particular problem. So then finally, when we come to the white matter pathways, corpus callosum, it is a very important structure, and they studied it in the meditators, long-term meditators, and found that the decussation of fibers. So corpus callosum is this part. So here you'll see that this is the part which will connect both the hemispheres of the brain. So in the same forum, we had even discussed once saying that, Albert Einstein had a very thick and bigger corpus callosum than the regular human beings. So possibly it's true. And this is the part which is, which also shows, it's also important for the rise, experiencing the Kundalini energy. So how and how that happens, I don't know. But in the in a book by Bihar School of Yoga called the Kundalini Tantra, it is mentioned that this is the part which is like important for the rise of the Kundalini energy. So possibly the activation occurs along the corpus callosum, and that is what possibly we feel it as the sensation along the spine. Then you have how this is a familiar one for us. We know about it, so we have read about so many articles. So all these are the neurotransmitters or the neurochemicals which are released and which can be which are the feel-good hormones. So you have dopamine, you have oxytocin, you have serotonin, and the endorphins. And there are various activities which will help you to increase the quantity in the brain. So for example, if it is dopamine, you can completing any task, then doing any self-care activities and eating good food, all these things, celebrating little wins, all this will cause a dopamine surge. And that is the reason why we have that feel-good feeling at the end of all these celebrations. So similarly, serotonin here is a mood stabilizer, and meditation and exercise is the one which really causes the release of serotonin and endorphins. So definitely, like, laughter also. Laughter is another thing which also causes the release of endorphins. So people who are witty, who love wit and who enjoy all these comedy shows are the ones who are happy. So that is one of the ways of being happy. And that is because of these factors. So now you know the scientific basis for it. So why this topic? I don't know. I was reading through, I was just like finding out articles on meditation, and somehow Dr. Sandeep Jyot called me at that particular time. Maybe it was a coincidence. So he asked me choose a topic, and I chose this. The reason I chose is because I know that there are a lot of non-medicos also in this forum, apart from the medicos. So I thought like sharing this knowledge is important so that we will know that whenever whoever meditates, it's a common thing, like, it's a common process. It's like how science is common for everyone. So how it works, we will know. And also it demystifies. So it is, meditation no longer stays like a mystery. It's like, it's not something which is unattainable, unreachable. It is something very common, very common. Like you take in breath and you leave a breath. So it's like, that is how respiration occurs. So that's as, this is a way to simplify it like how I would like to explain a particular process. So demystifying it is important. Why? Because so that we understand that we don't have to attach religion, culture, cult, or any of these things to meditation. It becomes a very, it's a basic scientific process, like how respiration occurs or how circulation in the body occurs, how toxic metabolites are, taken away from the body, how all the other systems work. So meditation is also something similar, which we can do and which will show results in a particular way. So, and it's a universal phenomena. And I think, I don't know, like whether, I mean, for me, I feel it is a very good move if people can introduce it into the school curriculum from a very young age, because that is the only way you can increase reasoning in people, their problem solving abilities, then calm them down. I don't see any other thing which can really have such a great effect. So I think it's also important that we realize that, if we don't attach religion to it, it becomes more easily acceptable to everybody in the world. And the concept of being just a member of the earth becomes very true. Like, we have to reach there someday, and we have to go beyond borders. We have to go beyond all these um, uh, if you have to go beyond wars, beyond genocides. I think this is the only way. I don't see any other better way, because only if reasoning power, if introspection increases in people, only then changes can occur. And finally, I would like to say, be yourself and we'll all bloom eventually. Thank you.
Ma'am, this was such a extensive research, I would say, and such inestimable knowledge for all of us. Most of us do meditate here on this group, but lots of things you have added. But just a couple of things I would like to add, but I'm just reading what all you were explaining. If we try to understand what is really happening inside us, I would add here even the telomeres, what we had studied in school.
I forgot to add that point.
The chromosomes, even they do elongate, and that is anti-aging. So all the ladies here, or even the men for that matter, would be interested to know that meditation does reverse your age. These anti-aging creams would not help you that much as meditation would. So it elongates the length of the telomeres, and which I believe controls the aging process, the degeneration process. And secondly, when you were telling about the happy hormones, the daily dose, I've just put it on the text. So DOSC, that's a very simple way of remembering them. Dopamine, the oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. So for layman's like me, it'll be very easy to remember the names that way. And I will just add another name here, that's anandamide. So that is absolutely a bliss hormone. So that is also, all the monks, Buddhist monks, they all have a very high dose of anandamides in them.
That is what causes that bliss, state of feeling of bliss.
Yes, ma'am. So
and that is why curd rice is so much advocated, because curd rice apparently causes the release of tryptophan, which in turn causes the release of anandamide.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Like you were talking about the brain waves and all that. So I would just suggest 2 books to everybody here if you're interested more. We read 2 books by Dawson Church, recommended by Dr. Ranjan. One was Mind to Matter, and the other one was Bliss Brain. So that gives all the details of, if you want to understand more about it, that what's really happening in our brain. So, ma'am, this is what is wonderfully happening now. The scientists of the West are doing more research in our Eastern philosophies and knowledge and bringing it to the entire world. So meditation is no more a geographic thing or something. It is a very universal concept. So thank you so much, ma'am.
I really hope I'm not overloaded with too much of medical information, but I thought it's like, that's why I've introduced a lot of pictures there so that you can correlate. Yes. And I didn't want to go in detail. So it is just that different areas get activated with meditation. And also you have the alpha waves, you have the theta waves. Theta waves are the ones which are very healing. So all these things are given in the books, and delta waves, and so these are the things which we are aware of, but we haven't scientifically seen it in the articles or publications. And I think most importantly, we should start publishing our work and our research, so that way will contribute to the the science part of the meditation, and
Yes,
we have so much knowledge, and as well as we have so many people meditating. Like if in India, I feel that there has been a tremendous increase in the number of people who are meditating these days.
Yes, ma'am. Especially after this COVID, I think that was one of the boon of COVID, that people did come into spirituality, and that is what has saved many of us, you know, from going into a crazy state of mind. Ma'am, there are hardly any questions because you explained it so well, and there is, I just find compliments for you in the chat box, and lots of compliments. Still, if anybody would like to ask a question, you can post it in the chat. Yes, thanks for demystifying things, a great deal. Very nice information, nice session. So, okay. Meenakshi would want your contact details, ma'am, if you would like to post your phone number in the chat. Yeah. You can just post your number in the chat box, ma'am. How to do meditation? Yes, Dr. Prashant. We will be going into a little practical very soon, once these questions are over. So ma'am has spoken about the anatomy of the brain. So along with the anatomy, we've got to touch the subtle parts of the brain too. Yes, ma'am? The brain as well as our hearts, you know. So we will very soon go into meditation. So if there are no questions, we can go ahead with the meditation. Or we can just wait for anybody to ask any questions still. So I'm sure all of you would want to give it a try, that what all ma'am has said, how we can actually feel it practically.
Somebody is saying, somebody is saying that they want to make an Indian database. Yeah, I think that is very important. We need to have our own database. We need to have our experiments with meditation, and we have to publish our data.